Hispanic Caucus. Media Matters is itself a left-wing organization. I mean, what credibility do all of you have on this issue? Would you have any more credibility, for example, than the Chamber of Commerce and the Bush administration in proposing amnesty and open borders?
Well, I know that's the kind of thing you've been saying about this for the last day or two. I heard on the radio today that you said I was out to lunch before we had even actually met.
Out to lunch?
Yeah. And,
well, I must have meant it if I said it, but I don't recall saying it.
That's sort of the shoot the messenger strategy. That's the kind of stuff that we tend to get from people like Bill O'Reilly and Rush Limbaugh. I hope that you're above that because there's some serious issues.
No, I'm not any longer, because what you did here is distort both the record, the reality, and the issue. And that's a combination that I frankly don't find endearing. Let's go to just a couple of things. Your report says that 70% of the Lou Dobbs Tonight programs last year mentioned illegal immigration. Now, last year, as you may recall, comprehensive immigration reform was a major issue with a vote ultimately on June 28th that resulted in its demise in the Senate. You may recall that last year was a campaign year in which a number of the candidates were taking up the issue of illegal immigration, and specifically Governor Eliot Spitzer calling for driver's licenses for illegal aliens. Why would you be surprised that we would be taking up that issue in such an active period, if you will, in public policy?
Oh, we're not, and we don't criticize you for talking about illegal immigration a lot. Obviously, that's an issue that you care very deeply about. The question, though, is when you talk about it. The question, though, is when you talk about it, how do you talk about it? Are you propagating myths? Are you encouraging people to believe things that don't happen to be true? That's the real question. Okay. Because, Lou, let's think about it this way. There is probably no more important voice on this issue than you. You talk about this issue almost every night. You have a national television audience. You've got a nationally syndicated radio program. There is no one whose voice is louder when it comes to the issue of immigration than yours.
If that's the case, Paul, if that's the case, why in the world would you not look at the record and realize how much reporting we've done on this? Instead of, you criticize the broadcast for having its own, quote-unquote, own correspondence. So does 60 Minutes. So, you did.
We mentioned it. We don't criticize you for having your own correspondence, Lou. The question, though, is when you talk about this, are you feeding into some of these myths? And what we found was that actually there are a lot of myths that get played on this show. Like, for instance, the NAFTA superhighway. I mean, let me ask you, Lou, do you actually believe that there is a secret plan to create a superhighway 4 football fields wide that is going to stretch from Mexico all the way to Canada?
No, the question is, do you really reject the evidence that that's precisely what's going on under the umbrella of the Security and Prosperity Partnership and the fact that the Trans-Texas Corridor is precisely that?
The Trans-Texas Corridor is in Texas, Lou, though. So the question is, do you have actual evidence that there is a plan that is going to take this all the way from Mexico to Canada? I mean, what is the evidence there?
What is the evidence?
Yeah.
The evidence is straightforward. It is the reporting of, if you really don't, I'm not going to get in, we haven't got enough time for this, but even the Texas newspapers, which have resisted this idea for a number of years, now recognize what's happening. Citizens groups are forming all over Texas to stop it. I mean, do you have any concept of what you're talking about? The Security and Prosperity Partnership, Paul, you're completely unfamiliar with it?
Is there some kind of a document that they say this is going to go from Mexico to Canada? Because we looked around and we tried to document this.
Why did you not call? How can you call research if you didn't call this broadcast and ask us for these documents and ask us for the proof of the reporting?
Do you have them?
Of course we do.
I would love to see it because we looked around.
You are a left-wing advocacy group. You're charging nonsense.
Lou,
and the only way to appease both you and the Congressional Hispanic Caucus would be for me to support illegal immigration and open borders. I reject it, I reject you, and I reject your position. Now, let's get to your report.
Lou, this isn't about what positions you take.
What is it about?
You can advocate any kind of particular immigration reform you want.
Well, that's very generous of you.
The question, Lou, is because your voice is so important on this, what kind of...
I'm not going to listen to prattle. Listen, I want you to listen to this, okay? And I'd like you to listen to this. Would you do that?
Mm-hmm.
You cannot reform immigration if you can't control it. You cannot control immigration unless you control the borders. Absolutely. I am also for raising legal immigration. No country, three countries can come close to us on our legal immigration levels. And we should be very proud of that. I am. I am just as excited about legal immigration. I'm more excited. Why didn't you report that in any part of your report? My position on illegal immigration, my position on immigration, my position on border security. Yours is a scurrilous attack, and you pretend that it has some scholarly basis. It is an absolute pitiful joke.
So I know that you say that you support legal immigration and that you don't, and you're not anti-immigrant.
But you forgot.
I know
you forgot to include that in your report.
You've said that many times. So let me ask you a question. When was the last time you did a story, a positive story about immigrants?
I don't know. Why? What's the issue?
Well, I'm sure you understand that this is an issue that not even beyond this show. No, let me make my point. Beyond this show, you know that there are a lot of voices out there that are not very responsible. Okay,
and so you know that this is voice. Don't do that. Don't conflate. No. Let me give you the ground rules. Don't conflate illegal and legal immigration, and don't conflate me and anyone else.
Exactly.
As you've already done.
This is exactly my point, Lou. You are adamant about this, that you don't oppose, that you're not anti-immigrant.
So what is your point?
My point is, if you'll let me make it, Lou.
I'm waiting. So are millions of others.
My point is that I asked you when was the last time you did a positive story about immigrants. You couldn't even tell me. So the question is then, if you understand that this is you're part of a debate.
When is the last time you did a positive story at Media Matters on a right-wing Republican candidate? When's the last time?
If you understand that you're a part of...
When's the last time you did it?